Okay, before we get started on today's content, I want to just point out that I've created a little feedback form here, and it's through Google Forms, and so it's like I didn't ask anything about your information or anything, and so it's an anonymous feedback form. You can kind of give me feedback on kind of the course up to this point in time, and then I might be able to kind of steer some of the rest of the course a little bit different depending on what you guys tell me. I'm not going to change anything in the syllabus. We're going to just kind of stick with the grading thing. I'm not going to like suddenly spring additional assignments on you guys or anything like that. But for future courses, I'm especially curious about issues with the homework and DataCamp and things like that. I've gotten some students have said they might prefer having traditional homework assignments versus DataCamp or something, and if you can just help me figure out an appropriate balance between regular assignments, which will probably be time consuming. If you just kind of imagine the homework assignments I created for 102A, that would probably be the style assignment there versus kind of these directed courses that DataCamp has. So anyway, I would appreciate your feedback there. Some students have also asked just about where they can do regular practice or practice Python and gain experience. And so I did want to point out some resources in DataCamp, okay? And I don't know what it looks like when you log into DataCamp, but this is kind of what it looks like for me. And there's this section that says gain real-life experience with projects, okay? Or maybe I'll create a link. This is DataCamp projects. And these are a little bit more open-ended. So when you go through a course, it's very, very directed, right? They talk about this topic and they say like, this is how we create arrays in NumPy, and then now it's your turn to make arrays in NumPy. And it's really sometimes it's just like, let's look at the example code and then let's just change a few numbers or something like that. And it's not and it does force you to use the thing, but then because you're in that spot there, it's very easy because you have reference code to look at. The projects are a little bit more open-ended, and and they're a little bit more like here. Let's just see what this might look like. And it'll say like, you should read through some of the stuff, okay? Make sure you do these courses, and then it says, importing modules, and so, probably would have to do like import NumPy as NP, import pandas as PD, and then, we would do something like pd.read_csv data sets / I should just copy and paste this thing in here. And then print out yearly. So maybe we can just do print yearly. Okay, so that seems to have worked. And then, calculate the proportion of deaths. And so, each of these things it'll talk about and assign it to, okay, so it'll give you kind of tasks here, and then you'll go through the different tasks. So this actually, it has a kind of a similar feel to maybe a homework assignment that I might have written up. And so I would encourage you, if you want additional practice that is a little bit less directed and handheld, like hand-holding approach, I think DataCamp projects is a great thing to explore. Probably at this point we haven't covered enough stuff for you to make too much progress in DataCamp projects, because I think we need to talk a little bit more about pandas before you can start diving into the projects, okay? But I would say after this week, after we start covering the pandas and using data frames, you can start exploring these projects a little bit more, and they are not as they don't take as much of a hand-holding approach as, say, the courses. They definitely guide you and direct you and say, these are the tasks you need to do, but there's a lot less example code, okay? I wish I could assign projects as homework assignments, but that's not a capability that DataCamp has for managing assignments. All of their assignments are basically just complete a course. But I guess what I can do is, based on the content we've covered in the class, I can at least try to find projects that would align. And so I'll start listing those in the things as kind of optional assignments. But yeah, I don't know how. I don't think I can make an assignment. Oops, that's not it. So this will be DataCamp projects. I'll just write a good place for those of you looking for practice data analysis projects. Okay, so that's a good place. I don't know, maybe I can motivate you by giving you extra credit or something, I don't know. All right, and then the other place, another resource that is less about data, but more emphasizing Python programming aspects. So if you want to get better on the programming side of Python, you can check out the site called HackerRank. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's an actual site that a lot of companies use for its technical interview portion. Okay, so if you interview with a company and they do a technical interview where they want to see if you are capable of coding, a lot of them use HackerRank because there's a good infrastructure set up for them to pose a question and you answer it. They're challenging, okay? And so you'll go on the code and get hired side, not the hire talent side, and then you'll log in. Does this have my password in here? Okay, oh, look at that. So I will log in on HackerRank. To be honest, it's been a while since I've done this, so I don't remember. But you'll probably want to start in I don't know, tutorials. 10 days of statistics. Let's try this. Okay. So I think I did this in R, but basically the computer, their thing will put input, and I think X and Y. So these things, you'll get your variables in using input, and then you can do print X and let's just see print y, and just you can kind of see what comes in using, so obviously, so this is the input comes in like this, and this is my output. All right, and then so probably what are these what is the thing I'm supposed to practice calculating the mean, median, and mode. And so the first line contains an integer n, denoting the number of elements in the array. The second line contains n space-separate integers describing the array's elements. Okay, and then print 3 lines of code. Print the mean on a new line, print the median on a new line, and print the mode on a new line. Okay, so that's I don't know, can I even do this? All right, so basically, I'm going to say n is going to be x, we're going to do integer. We're going to take, because everything comes in as a string, right? And then the values, so y is going to be a string of 10 numbers. So I'm going to do, well, we'll just make sure y is a string, and then I will do something like split based on a space, okay? And then, and let's, am I allowed to even use NumPy? Well, that would probably make it too easy. And we can just say, so we'll say S is going to be the sum of the values. All right, let's, so we're going to split this, and then we want to make them as an integer. So, I don't know, this might error out. Okay, so I get an error because I did something, right? So y dot split. All right, so anyway, you can just kind of do things out, line by line, run it. And okay, so I do get a list of strings, and then I would do vals dot, does this not work? Integer, convert these to integers. Okay, so that, so we split them on the strings. Okay, sorry, my brain has totally blanked out on me in terms of, so I've got a list of strings, and then we need to convert everything. Yeah, so I can just do, well, what would I do? I would do, so we'll do for, yeah, num and vals. Yeah, so I guess, so I'll do int of val, or num, exactly, for num and vals. Okay, so that'll give me a list. Okay, so this will be, I guess we'll call that val, and then I can do sum of val, and we'll just do print sum of val, at least divided by n, and that will give us our mean. And let's just see if this gives us something here. So I got, the first thing is good, all right, and then we just need to make sure you can get the other things, right? So so then you'd have to do something like val.sort, and then you'd have to find the what, n over 2. Oh, but maybe you have to floor that. Oh, anyway, okay. As far as, figuring out the median, something, right? So if we can, let me just print out val.sort. All right, and then so you can kind of play around with this. Tells. we can do sorted val. And you know, and kind of work these, you know, piece by piece. So we have the mean up here, and then we sort them, and then you're gonna have to find the middle value. Okay, in this case we've got because you have an even number, you got to add them up and divide by 2. So you might have to do stuff like this. Okay, but HackerRank definitely will force you, will challenge you in your coding abilities. Okay, and basically it's going to tell you this is how the values come in. Okay, the sample inputs come in like this, and they always come in as strings. And then so you're going to say, you know, X is your first input value and Y is your next input value, and you can code it up that way. All right. So HackerRank is worth checking out, and I don't have any assignments there, but if you're looking for more places to practice, okay? And so at least from a coding perspective, you probably have enough to start working through HackerRank, okay? Place to practice coding, used by, you know, many companies for the technical portion of an interview. Okay. So if you're thinking of brushing up on your skills for technical interviews, I think HackerRank's a great place to be. Okay. Is that all I wanted to say right now? Yeah, I think so. Okay, we'll continue on in pandas and talk about data frames and, you know, subsetting our data frames and, you know, kind of manipulating the data that we see. Okay, so so as always, we'll import NumPy and pandas. And then and here I've created some series. So this is just kind of from the last lecture. And then I provided the list of series to make our data frame. Okay, and then we had and I think this we did in the other lecture as far as using lists to create our data frames. Okay, so this is what our data frame currently looks like, our Riverdale data frame. We've got a height column and an actor column. And so you can ask for the keys of a data frame, and it will say we have height and we have actor, and those are the kind of the column names. And you can extract just one of the columns by using, you know, bracket notation, square bracket, and then you give it the name of the column. Okay, extracting the column. You can also, if the name of a column is kind of a valid identifier, you can also call the data frame dot the column name. Okay, so in R you would have, you know, data frame $. Okay, in Python you kind of use the dots to pull out the column name. Okay, you can, another way of getting the column. All right, and then once you have selected a column, or you can here, let me also say you can also select multiple columns by providing a list of column names. Okay, provide a list of column names to select multiple columns. And in this case, our data frame only has 2 columns, but I can supply the list of names, you know, in this order, do actor and then height, okay? Select actor and then height, and it will select those columns as well, okay? Provide a list of column names to select multiple columns, and then columns will be selected in the order provided. Okay, and then, you know, if you use the same column name twice, it will appear twice. Okay, so you can select it that way. Once you've selected a column, you can use index selecting, okay? Okay, so once you have a column selected, you can further subset with indices, okay? Or, you know, this method works as well, okay? So either, you know, dot actor or bracket. So this is kind of you know, subset that. Okay. You can also provide it. You can also use the index. The index name. Sorry, you can subset with numeric indices, but also, you know, Riverdale.actor is a series with index names, right? And we'll pull that out, right? Because if I ask type Riverdale.actor, this is a pandas series, and if I ask for, you know, what's the index on this? Oops. I always get confused. Okay, this is the index names. Okay, and you can subset using any of the index names, and then likewise you can also transpose the thing as well. So Riverdale being this 2-column data frame, you can transpose it, and now you have 2 rows. Okay, we have .look and .ilook. These are accessors, and these are just another way to select values. Okay, so you can say Riverdale.location.loc, and let me just run that, and it prints out basically it prints out that row. Okay, so if we go back up here to look at what Riverdale represents, it's this data frame, and by selecting .loc jughead, it pulls out this row, that row of values, 72 and Colt, okay? If we ask for what it is actually a series, okay? And it feels weird, okay? Because I've got the number 72 and obviously the string value Cole here. And so we have mixed types, but it's still a NumPy array, because NumPy allows for something called a structured NumPy array, all right? And this is not, we haven't really gotten into this, okay? But you can have something called a structured NumPy array where you say everything in, you know, the first spot must be a number, and everything in the second spot must be a string, okay? And NumPy does allow that. by default, it'll say everything in the array has to be the same type. But if you specifically say all values in the first position will be numeric and all values in the second position will be strings, it does allow for mixed types. Okay, you can use dot location, all right, and dot loc accepts arguments in the form of row and then column positioning. Okay, and so in this case, this would say give me all the rows and give me the column height. Okay, subset based on location. To get a column, the colon says return all the rows. And this is also a pandas series, and the values themselves are NumPy arrays. Okay, the names that appear over here, this is part of the series index. Okay, so they are kind of the attributes that are attached to it. All right, you can use dot location to provide a kind of a series of coordinates. And you can say, I want from row Archie, column height, what is that value there? And it extracts out the value 71, okay, from that, the row there. You can use ILOOK, okay? ILOOK is the same, except ILOOK uses the numeric index, okay? So, subset based on the numeric index is ILOOK. So this says give me row 3, row index 3. So that's going to correspond to Jughead, and then we get the same thing there. You provide it a pair of coordinates, row index 0, column index 1, and it pulls out the value there. Okay, and I don't know, you can slicing rules apply. So I can do ILOOK 0 through 2, and get this. Okay. Let me go back, and we'll just I'll call this wide will be this. That's wide, and then all right, so if I just make up just so I have a third column here, you can pull out the first 2 rows, first 2 columns there. Okay, you can also slice using the names, and it will include the one where it ended. Okay. Things like that. So this is all useful stuff for giving things. And you can also kind of provide it an index. You can say I want row 1, row index 1, row index 0, and row index 3, and column index 1, 0. Or we'll say columns, 1, 0. All right, and it will pull out. This is fancy indexing, right? To select the desired rows and columns. And And same thing with the names. Here, let's say Jughead and Archie. Complains. Let's see. Oh, because ILOOK. Thank you. Right. Okay. So anyway, those are all of kind of ways to subset using the names. Let me before I get into the reading it of stuff, let me do just Boolean indexing. All right, Boolean. We'll say filtering. Okay. So you can do something like, so again, if I just print out what wide is, I can see, so we'll select wide.location, and we'll use where height is greater than 66. Wide dot. Okay, so you know, you use something like, let me see if I can yeah. So you use you know, the name of the data frame, so you can specify, this will select the rows where wide dot height is greater than 66. All right, so that pulls out those things. Let me see. Using the location, let me see, what else can I do comparisons on letters? I don't know. I haven't tried this. Let's see if index works on letters. Yeah, it does. Okay. So so you can say, like, I want everything, because Python kind of makes these comparisons based on alphabetical order. You can say, I want all the names that come after D, right, as far as indexes go, and it will select Jughead and Veronica. All right. Select based on index names, and then you know, greater than comparisons are allowed for letters. Okay. And similarly, you can also do the same for, you know, any of the things. So you can say wide actor, and then we'll say greater than or less than the letter D. Okay. No, maybe that doesn't like that. Oh, can't. Oh, because I've got two actor things, so it gets confused. Shucks. Okay, well, it was worth a try. If we have, you know, missing values, you can have issues there going on there. Okay, let me we'll pull up you know, reading in data, like from a CSV file. Okay, so DataCamp just has this CSV file floating just right here, and this is some Titanic person's info, and so it doesn't. So you can just specify the location of the file, all right? And it'll accept a web URL. It will, or you know, a local file on your computer, right? So you can say, you know, documents slash, you know, your name slash files. So anyway, read.csv reads this in, and then you have so now Titanic itself. If I just say print type Titanic, it's a data frame, all right? And then with the data frame, you can call .head, all right? So whenever I teach R earlier in the day and then I switch over to Python, this always confuses me in that I always want to put head and then the name of the data frame inside head, because that's always how we do it in R. But in Python, you have to say the data frame .head. And you just have to flip the switch, and it's always you're like guaranteed. I promise you, at some point you're going to type in head Titanic, and then it'll error out, right? So, okay. So anyway, Titanic.head. This gives you the top. The dimensions are known as the shape. Okay. And we have 891 rows and 11 columns. So this is not the full Titanic data set. I don't know what it is. It says Titanic sub, so anyway, it must be a subset. And then, you know, the column names are given by Titanic columns, and we have passenger ID, survived, passenger class, sex, age, this and that, right? By default, when you do a read underscore CSV, it's going to create its own index, okay? And so here we have Titanic.index, which starts off at 0, and then passenger ID starts at 1. Now you do have the option of saying, I want one of my columns to be the index, okay? So, you know, and by default, it assumes that the top row in the CSV is going to be header, but, you know, all of these things, we'll ask for help on pd.read underscore CSV. And it lists it all off here, right? So there's, so these are all the optional things, right? So the file path, the defaults to having the separator being commas, headers, it's gonna infer from there, but there's all sorts of stuff as far as these things, right? Index column, and you can say, I want the index column to be one of the options here, right? So you can say passenger ID should be the index column, okay? Titanic.columns, anyway, at this point we haven't done that, okay? And so this will bring in everybody. The info, Titanic.info is kind of like the structure. So in, so, you know, for those of you coming from R, you know, data frame.info is similar to the structure command in R, where it kind of just lists off everything and gives you some information about each thing. And so we know the objects here, whether they're integers or floats. Object is basically a string there, okay? And then describe is kind of like summarize, in that it will give summary statistics of the numeric variables. So only the ones with numeric variables, it will provide summary statistics on all of those things, like what was the mean age, and what's the you know, the mean of whatever survived, things like that. Okay. The so let me just say read the CSV and specify the column index. The index column would be like this. So I'll call this Titanic 2. Will be read underscore CSV. We're going to give it the file path of the URL, and we'll say index underscore column equals passenger ID. I hope this works. And then we'll type in, right? I was almost going to type in head. Titanic2.head. Okay. And then so passenger ID is now the index here, right? And so so because this is the index, when I call say Titanic location 1, it pulls out this row, okay? This is pulls the first row, right? Versus, and this is where things can get confusing. Okay, so Titanic loc 1 pulls out the first row. Okay, Titanic ILOOK 1 pulls the second row. It's the row with numeric index 1, okay? Which feels confusing because you're like, well, this is the index, but these are effectively the named index of the data frame, right? So so this pulls this person, the 22-year-old male, that's at the top, and then this pulls the 38-year-old female, which has index 1, okay? Where, you know, if I said, give me Titanic loc 0, this is going to give me an error. It's going to say that thing doesn't even exist, right? That it gives me a key error, I think, or whatever. Key error, the label 0 is not there, okay? But, you know, obviously ILOOK will give me the, it starts off with 0-based indexing, right? So just be careful is all I can say, especially if your index is like numbers, because generally if you have something like this, passenger ID being the index, then it will probably start at 1. So just hashtag be careful. Okay.
It's just one.
Huh?
It's just one. Never mind.
What no?
It's fine. It's
Oh, one word?
no
Be.
careful spell with the
Oh yeah, thank you, yeah. Be care. I want you to be full of care. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Just a very brief stuff on pandas. Okay. We'll definitely look at pandas. Pandas allows us a lot of powerful data manipulation stuff. And then you know, once we get through pandas and stuff, you can even start exploring these DataCamp projects and HackerRank things. I don't know how to incentivize these for you, but I think, you know, as far as your own personal development with Python, these will be very good tools for you. Okay, we'll end there, and we'll see you guys on Friday.